welcome back to another episode of Everyday Bubbly. I'm Taylor, and I'm so excited for you to be here today. Today, we're doing a little bit of a different rhythm than usual. You can see that I don't have my normal podcast host, Allie, here today. We're just trying out some solos, see how we feel. We're going to mix and match and just see where the world takes us. The best thing about having your own podcast is that it's our own podcast. We get to make it up. We get to make the rules. And sometimes we want to do solos one-on-one. Sometimes we want to have conversations. Sometimes we want to have guests. The world is truly limitless, which I just love. But we are going to follow some of the same formats. We're going to hit all the same beats. So first off, what are we drinking today? Today, we've got I don't even think that, I guess technically this is a gin and tonic. Is there a difference between tonic and soda water? Because if so, I don't know what it is. But I've made this delicious gin, Empress elderflower gin. I think everybody's used to the Empress, that purple one that's beautiful. It has butterfly pea flowers, but this one is actually just as delicious. And Topo Chico. So cheers, y'all. Actually, this is a little bit strong. Sorry. Let me take another sip. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, so we know what we're drinking. We got our Empress Gin and Topo. And what are we cheersing to? If you're new to Everyday Bubbly, the biggest thing you need to know about us is that we believe in cheersing to all the big and small moments that happen in our day. Today, usually we pick very small moments, but today I'm cheersing to a big moment. My boyfriend and I celebrated our 6th anniversary with a little staycation here in Austin. And honestly, the whole weekend, no notes, was amazing. Had a wonderful time. We stayed at the South Congress Hotel right on Soka, right in the middle of everything, which was so fun to be able to be a tourist in your own city. We went to go see Wicked on Saturday night. Broadway touring production had come through Austin. I laughed. I cried. To be honest, I truly was ugly crying at a certain point. That Defying Gravity gets me every single time. I just can't help it. We also went to Uchi for the first time ever. If you are from Austin, you're probably girl, what is wrong with you? Uchi is the most basic of basic. Everybody has been to Uchi. I've never been to Uchi. And I will say, have you been to Uchi? It's so good. We tried so many different things. We had quail. We had this ham and pork and eggs roll that was pork belly and an egg cream. And it was I don't even know. It was otherworldly. So if you've never been to Uchi, maybe you should go. But that is what we're cheersing to this week. So now that we've gotten all of our normal things out of the way, should we dive right into today's episode topic? Today, we're going to talk about living with intentionality. I feel that sounds like such a weird, big, vague word. What does it even mean to have intentionality in your life? And I don't know. I think that's probably why it's so important to talk about. I think that as a society and as a culture, we tend to just kind of go through the motions. It's really easy to get caught up in just having the same day after day and week after week. And again, that's what the whole Everyday Bubbly ethos is about, is finding reasons to celebrate each day. And a lot of choosing to celebrate is really living with intentionality at the end of the day, trying to find moments around us that really bring us joy, to kind of keep us on our path, to make sure that we know what we're trying to do with our lives, and the mark that we are trying to leave, not necessarily on the world, but on the lives of the people around us. And what do we want to be known for, I guess, at the end of the day, which sounds so big. And what do we want to be known for in the books of history? But what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to be saying about you when you're not there? And I think all of that is tied into living with intentionality and living with a sense of purpose, to be honest. And I feel a lot of times when you are lacking intentionality, your decisions just kind of are a mush. You don't even really know why you're making the decisions that you're making. So I'm thinking one time when I was choosing whether or not to leave a job. This is like such a weird example, but I was like choosing whether or not to leave a job. And I think an example of living with intentionality is honestly going through it and like choosing to leave because where the job was no longer aligned with like what I wanted and where I wanted to be and like what I wanted to be known for in my professional career. There was nothing wrong with that job that I could have stayed at, but it didn't make the most sense for the way I wanted to live my life moving forward. Or another example is, I don't know which of our listeners know this, but like I used to be really into Olympic weightlifting. I did a bunch of competitions. I actually qualified for the Arnold a few times, and I made the really difficult for myself decision to leave weightlifting. I thought it was just going to be like a month-long break, and I ended up not picking up my barbell for like 2 years. But I made that decision to step away from weightlifting with intentionality because I could have just kept going through the motions of picking up my barbell, lifting X amount of times a week, going to these competitions, but it wasn't bringing me joy anymore. I had to sit down and have like a really serious conversation with myself. Like, are you doing it because you think that you're supposed to be doing this? Or are you doing this because it's actually like something that you want to be doing? And it was really hard, I'm not gonna lie, to say bye to that part of my life, even temporarily, like to say bye to weightlifting, but I wouldn't have been fair to myself or to my teammates or my coach for me to stay doing something that I thought I was supposed to be doing just because I thought I was supposed to be doing it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to like stick with that one thing if it's not what's bringing you joy in your life. So I guess what all of this is saying is like, what even is living intentionally? Like, what does it mean to like have intentionality in your day-to-day life? And for me, I define intentionality as just like having a sense of like purpose and direction for where I want to go. It's having that almost like a goal in mind and working towards that goal. Not in like actionable, oh, I checked these 3 things off my to-do list today, but more like, again, what do you want to be known for? Like, what are the intentions behind why you make the decisions that you make? All of us have a reason for making decisions, but like, I don't know that all of us necessarily can articulate that. And I just want you to take a moment and like take a step back and think of a time when you just were going through the motions as opposed to doing something with intention, whether that was staying at a job that you knew you were over with, but just didn't feel like you could leave. If it's something like choosing not to break up with the partner because it's easier to just stay with them, and even though it's not taking you in your life in the direction you want to. Living with intentionality versus going through the motions could be like staying in your hometown. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like staying in your hometown when you know that there's so much bigger and better things waiting for you if you just like took that leap and like worked in the direction of your dreams. And I think that a large part of what an intentional life is so different from person to person. Like, my intentional life will be so different than Allegra's intentional life or your intentional life or like my little brother's intentional lives. Like, we all have different goals and different priorities and different things that we want to create with our lives. And I think it's all about being really like respectful and honest with ourselves about that. And I think it really comes back to, at the end of the day, is what are your core values? And your core values will inform what your intentions are. And I think your 30s are just such a primo time to really start diving more into what intentionality looks like and like what you want your life to continue to look like moving forward. I think in our 20s, it's really easy to just kind of go through the motions and just hit the same notes as everybody else because everybody else is just hitting them around us. And we almost don't want to be left behind. But when you're in your 30s, you're so much more sure of who you are and what you want and whether or not that fits in with the status quo. And I just think you're a little bit more comfortable making those decisions for yourself. And honestly, if you were that person in your 20s and you were able to like live your life for nobody else, then like kudos to you, because that is a rare breed. And I'm so impressed. And like, honestly, teach me your secrets. Like, how did you do that? But for the rest of us who are like just really starting to come into our own in your like late 20s, mid 30s, I think this is just like such a good time to like take a step back and see what you want out of life as opposed to what you think you should want. Is that Do you want to be child free and you like don't, and you know now that you don't want kids and you thought that you did 5 years before? Do you like girls now? Maybe you've realized that you're a lesbian or you're bi, like things that you were hiding from yourself before, or even something way smaller. Like, do you realize now that like health and wellness are a huge part of your life and you want them to be moving forward? Or maybe like spirituality and more of that woo woo is more like where you want to align your life moving forward. And none of those are wrong answers or right answers. Like, it's all about what works for you. And I just don't think that I personally didn't have the like ability to really make that sort of concrete decision making when I was in my 20s. So I think that there's a few steps, I guess you could say, to really living with that intentionality. Or actually, before we even get into the steps of like how to live your life with a sense of purpose and to like really infuse each and every day with intentionality, I guess we should talk about some of the benefits of living with intentionality and how that can just have ripple effects all throughout your life. So step one, it just gives you a better and more increased sense of purpose and fulfillment. You can live at the end of every day, you can look back and be like, oh, these two things helped me live my goal. Or like I talked to this one person, which is so in line with like where I want to be in 5 to 10 years. You can see where you've come off track. Like, oh, I did this thing and honestly, it doesn't really like, that doesn't vibe with the person that I saw myself being. I'm probably not going to do that again tomorrow. So even like really minor things like that, they all just add up. It also makes you have way better decision making. So again, with the example I just gave, like you saw something at the end of the day, you're like, this isn't something that I want to continue on moving forward. You've just made a decision not to incorporate that into your life moving forward. Or say you are presented with like 3 different options. You'll know what the right option is for you, not for anybody else, but you'll know it for you just based off of like where you want to be in the future, where you want to be tomorrow. I think another one is just also reduce stress anxiety. And that goes back to having easier decisions. You're not going to be stressing like, did I make the right choice? Should I have actually gone with XYZ? Should I have gone to Costa Rica? Should I have gone to Maui? Like, you won't have these sort of like questions looming over you because you would have made those decisions in the first place with a lot of intentionality and a lot of like decision making would have gone into that. You have a better sense of control over your life because you are making decisions. You're not just being swept along with like what everybody else is doing. Again, going back to like maybe you decided that you're living your life with intentionality and that intention is to not have kids. I think it's so easy to just get swept up in all the hoopla of everybody around you, like getting married and getting pregnant and baby showers and like blah. Like there's just so much there. And you're not going to feel left behind. You're not going to look up 3 years, 5 years, 20 years down the road and be like, what the fuck? Where did all of that time go? What have I been doing? I have this life that I didn't even want. Like no part of me resonates with this. And you can have avoided that now by just making sure that the decisions that you're making allow you to keep and maintain control over your life, which I think is like so undervalued. I don't think we talk enough about how much like that control over your own life makes such a huge difference. And then I think another benefit of just living life with intentionality is it gives you more focus and productivity. And maybe that's a really capitalist way of looking at things, that like not every moment of your day needs to be about being productive and about being a good little worker bee, for lack of a better word. But like, if you do know what your goals are, like what you're working towards, things aren't going to be taking you off track. It's not going to, again, using the example of, do you want to wake up in 20 years and be like, oh fuck, I hate everything? Or do you want to work towards that now? Like, it's that loss of focus over the next 20 years could be like, you're starting from scratch then, or you're starting today from a place where you want to be. And yeah, I mean, either way, the outcome is the same, but one seems a lot more fun than the other. I don't want to have to hate my life before I get to love it. Like, I just want to get to love it. All right, let me take a sip. That was a lot. I'm gonna be honest, this is stronger than I expected. It's not bad, just stronger. So note to self, don't chug. Okay, so we talked about like what intentionality looks like. We talked about like some of the benefits of living your life with intention and through intentionality. But like, what are some of the steps to actually get there? Like, it's obviously way easier said to like, I'm going to live my life with intention versus actually going through and living your life with intention. So I think the first step before you do anything else, anything, is to take some time to like just do some self-reflection. Because again, living life with intention is your intention, not your best friend's intention, not your mom's intention, not even your fucking boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend's intention. This is about your intention. Like, what do you want? So take some time, maybe book your own staycation, do like a one night getaway, take yourself to a nice, cute coffee shop, take yourself on a lunch date, like do whatever feels good for you. So just have some time to reflect on like, what do you love? What are your passions? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? What do you want to do more of? What are your goals? Where do you want to be in 6 months, a year, 3 years, 10 years, 50 years? Like, where do you want to be in that amount of time? And like, what do you value? What are the things that other people do and you're like, oh yes, that makes a good person? Or like, ooh, this isn't something that I really care about. For me, something I value really closely is, I hate this term because I feel like it's been like kind of taken out of context now, but I really love eating clean and like living a clean lifestyle. And yes, I'm drinking gin right now, but like a value of mine is the environment. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. And eating organic and all of that. And maybe that's not your value, and that's fine. Part of the whole part of step one, self-reflection, is seeing what works for you and what you care strongly about. Think about what brings you joy and fulfillment. What would you do if you had 3 weeks of uninterrupted time, of truly just like you being you, of Taylor being Taylor? What would I do with that time? I'd probably spend a lot of time reading, eating popcorn, if we're being honest, connecting with friends who I love. I would be doing yoga and going on long walks and doing gentle movement that makes me feel good. Maybe for you, it would be prioritizing traveling to places you'd never been. Maybe you would sit and like talk to your grandmother and like get all of her stories. Like, just see what brings you joy and fulfillment. And alternatively, what drains you. So things I'm probably not going to do if I had 3 weeks of Taylor time, I'm not going on a run. I like other sorts of, I'm not running. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not going to go to a bar class. I'm not going to all of a sudden take up, I don't know what all of my examples have to do with fitness. I'm sorry, y'all. But like, I'm not going to move to San Diego. Like, that's just not something that is what I want to do. Like, that would deplete me. But maybe for you, that would be so joy bringing and so like gratitude inducing for you to be able to have that. And then when you're taking this like solo self-reflection time, ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to create? Going back to the question of like, where do you see yourself in 6 months to 60 years? What sort of life do you see yourself living? Is it a life that's totally different from where you're at now? And that's fine if it is. Like, we love that, honestly. We love a little bit of change. We love growing and evolving as a person. Do you want to be doing more of the same? Maybe you're in a place in your life, and I mean, I've been here where like, I was like going out every single night and I loved it. I had so much fun and I would not take that back for anything. But like, that wasn't the same sort of life that I wanted to be living when I'm 35 or 45 or anything like that. So step one, take time, reflect, think about things. See who you want to be, see who you really are now, and see where you want to go. After that, set goals. Like, if you know that in 50 years you want to be this pied-à-terre owner in Paris and you want to be child-free and you want to have all of, like, you want to just like collect passport stamps and all of those amazing, wonderful things, like, what do you need to do now to get you there? Do you need to save a little bit more? Do you need to apply for your passport? Do you need to learn to speak French? Like, what are some goals that you can set that are like almost milestones along the way for the life that you want to live then? how can we bring parts of that into now? Maybe we decorate our home with a little bit of Eiffel Tower goodness. Maybe you like see yourself there. So find these goals and break them down into manageable, like almost sub goals. Like, okay, you want to be this pied-à-terre owner in France one day. But when do you need to like learn French by? Do you want to move to France before you try and buy property there? Like there's all of these like little mini steps, like see the big goal and then almost work backwards to see what smaller goals you can create. And I think something that works really well for me that maybe isn't for everyone, and that's fine, is I love breaking my goals down into almost little sprints. Maybe that's, I am coming from like a tech background, so that's a very tech thing to do. But like, maybe see what goals you can accomplish in the next 12 weeks. Maybe you're a quarterly planner. So I honestly, I can show you my spreadsheet. I have a little spreadsheet with like things I want to accomplish like this year. And I broke down the next 12 weeks. So it took me from, I think like 3 or 4 weeks, so like early March to the end of May. What goals do I want to accomplish in this short amount of time? I'm not going to be fucking fluent in French by that, but I can do 14 levels of Duolingo or something like that. Like what little goals can you do that will help you create your big goal? And that way I know I'm like, oh, hey, I know that my goal end date is 3 weeks away. Let me take some time now and work on my French. Like it all just like builds on each other like that. I think from setting your SMART goals, like setting goals that are like realistic and like attainable for you, and then breaking them down into smaller pieces, come back to your time where oh gosh, I just sloshed on myself. Come back to that self-reflection time and do some like ruthless prioritization. Are there moments or things or aspects of your life right now that are aligned with the goals? So maybe like prioritization isn't quite the right word. Maybe more of like alignment resetting is a better term for that. But like take a look at your life and see, are these things matching up with your goals? So if one of my personal goals is to like lead a lifestyle that's like very health and wellness focused and like very full of yoga and breath work and all of that, like that truly is a goal for me. And there are things that I'm doing that maybe are misaligned. Oh, sorry, there are like dogs walking past and I got so distracted. There are things that I can do that are aligned with those goals. So if I have the option to go out for brunch or go to a breathwork session and they're at the same time, maybe I pick the breathwork session and I talk to my friend. I'm like, hey, can we reschedule and reprioritize that into my life? Or maybe your goal is to have more of like a health and fitness angle and you like really want to compete at the Arnold. And that's a great goal. You should definitely do it if that's something that you desire and like work towards. But like, if your goal is to compete at the Arnold and you know that it requires late night, early morning, like you need to be in the gym training, you probably can't be drinking or like eating a lot of junk food. Are you going to say yes to going to a week-long music festival if you also don't even really like music? You were just going because all your friends were going. If you don't want to go to ACL and it happens the same weekend as a lifting competition, like you have to make your priorities. Don't go to the concert and be fucking pissed when you don't hit your goals and you don't compete at the Arnold because you didn't put in the work that you needed to. You didn't prioritize your goals properly to get you where you wanted to be. And maybe that's a little tough love-esque, but you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be ruthless. It can even be smaller. Like you want a life that's health and wellness focused, but all of your friends around you like scoff on things like that and think that you're so weird for looking up your astrology or like don't understand the new direction that you want your life to take. How can you still see your friends, but maybe see them a lot less? Maybe like prioritize the things that you want to do over the things that they want to do, which is going to the bar for the 5th time this week that like isn't in alignment with the fact that you want to start drinking less or something like that. Like there's so many different examples of ways that you could reprioritize things in your life. Maybe you know that we talked about people who want to be child free, but like maybe you know that you do want to be a mom in like a year or 2 years. What changes can you make and like what priorities can you make now that'll help you create this life that you want 2 years from now? Maybe it's cleaning up your diet a little bit. Maybe it's saying no to, do people vape still? Is that a thing that people are doing? Because if so, don't do that. Especially don't do that if you're like thinking about you wanting to be pregnant. Like, reprioritization. Put the vape down. We don't do that anymore. We're done. We're over it. So like stuff like that. If you want to live a life that's really music focused and you have an option to go to a concert or go to the Arnold, you can go to the concert. Like, that's a perfect example of how everybody has different goals and priorities and like ways that they want to live their life, and what works for one person doesn't have to work for anybody else except that one person. So step 3 was prioritization, or realignment, maybe is what I would say. Step 4 is creating habits and routines. So how can you create habits or rituals or just things that happen throughout your day that get you a little bit closer to your goals and values? Again, one of my values that I hold very highly is living as clean as possible. So like having organic foods, clean and green cleaning products, stuff like that. So my habits are aligned with that. My habits are, I'm going to go to the farmer's market. My habits are, I'm going to buy the organic eggs. My habits are, I'm not using dryer sheets. Like those are, maybe those like not a great idea, like great example of habits, but you get the picture of like, what can you do? What tangible small things can you do? Maybe one of your goals that you set in your like self-reflection session is to be an influencer, of which I'm not quite there. So maybe don't listen to me for advice, but like, is a habit spending 10 minutes a day interacting with other people in your niche? Probably. That's something that's very actionable. Maybe it's spending 30 minutes a day coming up with content ideas. Maybe your goal is to again be into health and wellness. You have a habit of brushing your teeth and you take your dog on a walk immediately, instead of sitting down and scrolling TikTok for an hour, because let's be honest, the time it slides away from us. And that hour on the couch looking at TikToks is going to fly by. Or you can go on a walk, because your priorities and your intention in life is to live a more movement focused life. So there's a lot of different habits that we can do. I haven't read this book. It's somewhere on my bookshelf, but I haven't read this book called Atomic Habits, but I get the gist of it. It's been all over social media. Create habit stacks. Find a thing that you currently do. Brush your teeth. Add a new habit on top. Do 10 squats. So they're like building. And once you because you're brushing your teeth every time, you're always going to think about doing your squats after. Sure, you'll miss a few days. It'll take some time for it to be like second nature. But after a while, you won't think anything of it. And then once you're there, you can add a new habit, like brush your teeth, do your squats, drink bone broth. Like it just keeps building and building and building. And then by the time you have this whole like routine established that you don't think twice about. And you're getting to live your life with intentionality, because each one of those habits and routines is, each one of those habits and routine is like tailored for the life that you want to be living. And then I think just the final step is almost, maybe this is more of a cycle, is check in with yourself. Take yourself on that staycation. Take yourself to that nice coffee shop or restaurant or lunch or whatever and say, do I like this? Am I moving in the direction that I want to be doing? Are my goals more aligned now than they were before? Am I surrounded by people who are encouraging me and helping me and like letting me live my life with the intentionality that I want to? And honestly, I would say to do this on a pretty regular cadence. What that cadence is can be so up to you. Like maybe you're like really witchy and you want to do it with the full moon or the new moon and spend some time living your life by those lunar cycles. Love that. Maybe you are a corporate business girly and you love quarterly check-ins. So beginning of Q2 and Q4, you take some time and you like sit down and you do a SWOT analysis of your life. Maybe you are a little bit more fluid and you're like, oh, every April, I'm going to make sure that sometime in the month of April, I take a week for myself and I just go over this. Maybe you love your birthday and every year on your birthday, you like spend some time doing some self-reflection. I think there's so many different options. There's no one size fits all. You can do this weekly if you want to, like up to you. But I think the most important thing of like living again with intentionality, not just going through the motions, is taking time to reflect and assess and see if you really are living with intentionality, or if you've just like stumbled into a new hamster wheel that you're on. And again, if that's the life that you want to live, like no judgment, but if you want to live a life with more intentionality, with more purpose, with more like self-ascribed meaning, then you're going to have to put in that work, and you're going to have to like look up and be like, okay, I can make changes to these 3 areas of my life and just move on from there. And I think that there are a bunch of different ways that you can keep some of that intentionality and purpose top of mind. I mean, it's still pretty early on in the year, and I know that everybody loves a vision board, and I am not beyond the vision board. I like my phone background is my vision board. So I keep that close to me, and that keeps a constant reminder like where I want to go and how the things that I need to do to get there. The like wherewithal to say no to things that don't align with your goal. If I love eating organic food, am I going to say yes to Taco Bell? Probably. But you know what? I'm doing that intentionally. I'm like, you know what? I'm not just like eating Taco Bell because I just forgot. I'm eating a Taco Bell and I'm like, you know what? This is something that I want to do, because you know what? We're all humans and we're not perfect. And like, we're allowed to ebb and flow and to want Taco Bell one day. And I will not feel shame for that. Another way is to use a planner. I know I mentioned my spreadsheet that I have earlier because I love like the satisfaction of like filling in one of those little boxes, but that doesn't have to be your jam. Maybe you're a planner, maybe you're a bullet journal, maybe you are, I don't know, insert your like planning tool here. Maybe you're an accountability buddy person. Like you need somebody to hold you accountable. All of those are perfectly acceptable ways to like live your life with a little bit more intention. And again, like just making sure that you're scheduling that time for self-reflection. That can be through those weekly check-ins. You can have that monthly, you can have that quarterly, that annually check-in, but like, please, please, please incorporate some self-reflection alone time to see what you like and not what the people around you like. Allow some time for like the voices to quiet down and for you to just be able to tune in to what you care about and what you love and what you want to create more of. And I know that there are some I don't know what to say issues, but like it's not always, it's easier said than done to be like, I'm living my life with intention now. Like there's things that come up. Like maybe you don't have time. Maybe you're scared of rocking the boat. Maybe you think that the person you want to be just requires so much more financial resources than you have right now. But like, that's when it comes back to finding small moments throughout your day. Maybe you're not going to be that pied-à-terre owner for another 40 years, but you can take your Duolingo today. And like, you can look at things on Zillow today. And like, you can do these little baby steps to get you ever closer to your goals. And it doesn't have to be, again, a massive overhaul. When I decided to stop doing weightlifting, it wasn't just something that I phased out of my life. So don't be afraid to take baby steps. You'll be okay. I promise. You're not going to have this life that you want 3 years from now, today. It's just not going to happen. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we should touch on when it comes to living your life with intentionality. I think my biggest thing is to just make sure that you're spending time on activities that like force you to slow down and have more of that self-reflection time, whether that's yoga or meditation or going on walks or traveling or like spending time by yourself or going to lunch or like going to the library or whatever that is for you, like going to a concert. I don't know. We all have our things that like have the voices kind of quiet down a little bit, but like my biggest tip and trick and hope for you is that you just get to spend more time by yourself, figuring out what your intention is and what your purpose is and where you want to take yourself. That's it. And okay, well, that's the end of intentionality, but our last bit that we always do here on Everyday Bubbly is share our song of the week. So my song of the week this week is Von Dutch by Charlie XCX. It's giving summer. It's giving party. It's giving dancing with your friends. It's giving like you've had way too many margaritas and now you're going to have an espresso martini just be fucking cuz. You're wearing trucker hats. Ashton Kutcher's around. It's the 90s and it's great and times are amazing. Like it just has so much good energy and it's fun and it's exciting and it just makes me so excited for the summer. So song of the week is Von Dutch by Charlie XCX. All right, y'all, that has been another episode of Everyday Bubbly. As always, thank you so much for being here. I love getting to sit down and chat with you guys. If you could subscribe, share this with your friends, it would mean so much to us. You guys sharing the podcast is what allows it to grow, which allows it to find new audiences. And we just love being here. All right, cheers, y'all. Have a good one.